Good morning, great morning, wonderful morning, spectacular morning, outstanding morning, magnificent morning, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious morning. Yes, that beautiful reminder of choice that we all have to give meaning to everything. Remember, everything is fundamentally meaningless. Everything just is. Nothing is good or bad. It's our thinking that makes it so. Let's just sit in that for a moment and say that to yourself. Nothing is good or bad. It's my thinking that makes it so. See, it's your thinking, it's how you're thinking, it's what you believe, it's the patterns in your mind. That's what determines your life. When we go into out from the heart, and again, we'll talk a little bit more about this in just a moment, you're going to hear that. You're going to hear that beautiful statement that what happens inside proceeds to the outside. The within is ceaselessly becoming the without. And what's really beautiful is that whatever it is that's happening in there, if you don't like it, you can change it. See, this is where application comes into play. Application, baby. See, that's the first chapter, first lesson, I should say, in the beautiful program that we created called Emergence. It's a game changer because unfortunately, most people who are in this realm of wanting to improve their lives, to change how they're experiencing life, they get a lot of knowledge, but then unfortunately, what doesn't happen is the implementation of that knowledge, which leads to no change. It's kind of like having a key on the counter. Is the key useful? No, it's not. It's sitting on the counter. See, the only way it becomes useful is if you pick it up and insert it into the keyhole that it was keyed for and then turn it. Well, it's the same when it comes to this knowledge that we're sharing with you in terms of, for instance, imagining great things for yourself. Remember, imagination is the starting point of all creation. That's where it all starts. And what's beautiful is when you engage to imagine great things for yourself, and if you hold it on the screen of your mind, and that's the use of the will, and if you're loyal to that unseen reality, you know what starts to happen? Everything that's in harmony with that. It happens according to law. And that's what Dolly and I both learned going through this process when we both decided to be coached and mentored by Bob Proctor. See, that's what he was sharing with us. In the beginning, it was like, wow, this crazy Merlin. That's what Dolly calls him. He calls him a Merlin, right? Well, he's like, he's saying all these things and as if they were like something from the secret society. But, um, and that's fun to play. But what's interesting is once we saw it, there wasn't anything secret about it. There wasn't anything mysterious about it. Matter of fact, it was very simple. And that's what we love to share with people to help them to understand that as well. That's why we created this beautiful program called Emergence to help people to implement it easier, to implement this information easier. Anyways, with that being said, what have we been studying? We've been studying this beautiful gem here, As a Man Thinketh, Now from the Heart. If you don't have a copy of this, make sure you do get a copy of this. And more specifically, when you do get it, yes, underline it, highlight it, study it, memorize it, but more importantly, implement it. Use it in your life practically. See, remember, that's where it's at. Application, baby. That's where it's at. All right. So, with that being said, shall we go into this right now? Type in the comments, I'm ready if you're ready, especially now that you can hear me, right? Pretty cool. All right, so let's go into this, shall we? And let's go into where we left off in this wonderful, beautiful gem. Here we go. One, two, three, boom. All right. So the page that we're on is page 28. Page 28. Now, what does he say? It says, achievement of whatever kind is the crown of effort, the diadem of thought. Remember, achievement, that's a result. When you achieve something, it's something that's done, it's completed. Now remember the statement, as within, so without. In the beginning was the Word. An achievement is the result, is the crown effort of the expression of thought, the movement of what's happening in your mind. If you don't like the achievement, if you want the achievement to be higher, more grand, more spectacular, then what has to shift inside of you are thoughts that are in harmony with that. And who gets to decide that for you in your life? You. Now, the aid of self-control, resolution, purity, righteousness, and well-directed thought, a man ascends. By the aid of animality, indolence, impurity, corruption, and confusion of thought, a man descends. And we talked a little bit about this yesterday. If you want to ascend, you have to literally think. If you just react in life, I have news for you. You're going to descend. See, there's a difference between the two, a huge difference. React, respond. What we teach is how to respond. That's what's embedded within everything that we put together in emergence. I mean, just again, think about the very first lesson that we put into play. Application. Knowledge in and of itself has absolutely no power. The only way it has power is if it's used in your life. Now, and the example with regards to that is when we're going over this stuff that we're talking about. I mean, you can know it all day long, but if you don't discipline your thoughts and guard your thoughts, I have news for you. Things are going to be the same. Now, a man may rise to high success in the world and even lofty altitudes in the spiritual realm, and again descend into weakness and wretchedness by allowing arrogant, selfish, and corrupt thoughts to take possession of him. Now, we addressed this yesterday, the word allowing. I want you to all write in your notes, all negativity is subconscious. Let's all type that in the comments too as well. All negativity is subconscious. Now here, I understand what he was trying to get to, but I'm certain that if James Allen and I were to have this discussion about this, he would completely adjust this. Because arrogant, selfish, corrupt thoughts are not something that we invite into our lives. They are something that happens because of belief and habit. And again, all you have to do is look in your life with regards to a lack of belief or that you're not good, any kind of limitation. Do you allow that to happen? No, you don't. You don't say, oh, you know what? I'm going to think from limitation today. You don't do that. And yet, that's what's taught. It's not true. The only thing you allow, the only thing you let in is light. And see, this is where thinking comes into play. Victories attained by right thought can only be maintained by watchfulness. Now put a big heart next to this. Watchfulness. Waking up, being aware, reasoning. Remember, reason is one of your higher mental faculties. We talk about that beautifully in this beautiful gem here. There's no such thing as self-sabotage, of which is something we highly recommend you make a permanent part of your library. This is a liberator. In this, we talk about the higher mental faculties. In Emergence, we go over beautiful ways to use them, to exercise them, to strengthen them. With this being said, reason, imagination, perception, reason, will, memory, intuition. Reason is your ability to think. That's where the watchfulness comes into play. But unfortunately, most people, they don't use it. They don't even know that they can use it. Now, many give way when success is assured and rapidly fall back into failure. Why? Because of the comfort. Because of the familiarity. You know, there's a statement from Price Pritchett in U Squared. He says, faith in the familiar sets the trap. I suggest every one of you connect with that. Faith in the familiar sets the trap. What is this? Why does it set the trap? Well, because with familiarity comes that connection of normalcy, what's normal. And what's normal is how you've been thinking, and what's normal are the results that you've been delivering. Now, again, really sit in that for a moment. Because many people, when they do have this incredible success, they get complacent. And because of that complacency, there's no thinking, there's no moving around of new information. And then what starts to happen? There's no growth inside, and the disintegration leads back into failure. All achievements, whether in the business, intellectual, or spiritual world, are the result of definitely directed thought, are governed by the same law, and are of the same method. The only difference lies in the object of attainment. Now, let's really dissect what he's saying here. Think about the achievements, whether they're in business, your personal life, spiritual world. Say, like you've achieved being very confident inside, or you've achieved earning a certain amount of money, or gaining an understanding of something. How did they happen? They happened because of definite directed thought. In other words, a connection with whatever the idea was. Now, where is that happening? That's happening in the mind. What is the higher mental faculty that's being used to engage and direct your thoughts? See, that's where your reasoning is enforced by your greatest power, which is your agency, your ability to choose, to accept, reject ideas. Through that reason, through that movement of ideas, and then the engagement next of your will of holding that idea on the screen of your mind, boom, according to law, because that's held on the screen of your mind, it gets impressed in your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind starts to move and lead you to things. And the next thing you know is it's taking place in your outer world. Now, here he's pointing out how it's all delivered the same. And the only reason why the outcomes are different is solely because of what's being focused on to where it's being focused from. So again, let's read this through. All achievements, whether in the business, intellectual, or spiritual world, are the result of definitely directed thought, underline that, are governed by the same law, and are of the same method. The only difference lies in the object of attainment. Now, where again does that all happen? It happens in the mind, in your mind. And you're the one that gets to decide what that movement's going to be inside and what you're going to hold on the screen of your mind. Now, before we proceed, for those of you who are watching this live stream and are connecting with this and would love to continue with the rest of the live call and access the replays, I highly recommend that you go to elevitality.com and register for Master Your Mind. You will thank yourself later.